Jasper's Answer. Jasper tapped his chin thoughtfully and frowned as he listened to the story. When the soft voice faded away, Jasper continued to look thoughtful. He adjusted his pale blue bow tie, hitched up his dark blue trousers, squatted on the floor, and began to rummage through his battered bag of knowledge. What is in the bag of knowledge? Let's see. We have his sheets of paper for him to take notes, his laptop, the various books he uses to entertain himself. Oh, and of course, his pen to take the meticulous notes. The answer must be in here somewhere, he muttered to himself. How could a raven be like a writing desk? What does she mean there isn't an answer? There must be an answer, or there shouldn't be a question. And what's all this about Lewis Carroll being Jack the Ripper? Lewis Carroll wasn't even Lewis Carroll. He was really Charles Dodgson. It's all very confusing. As Jasper opened his laptop, his gaze was instantly fixed to the screen. Sandra watched him from the corner of the room and knew she wouldn't be able to communicate with him for some time. She began to tidy up the notes and pamphlets that had spilt out of the bag of knowledge, and amongst them was a sketch. She picked it up, and with a jolt, she realized it was a picture of her. Using deft pencil strokes, Jasper had caught the upturn of her nose, and she seemed to have a slightly anxious expression. She turned over the thick cartridge paper. Jasper always liked to use top-quality paper, and saw that on the back of the sketch he had drawn her from behind. With his box of drawing pencils, all in the correct order from hard to soft, and all sharpened to perfection, he had carefully represented the complicated way he had plaited her hair on the back of her head. Sarah smiled to herself and wondered, who else would draw a portrait from the back and the front? Jasper sees things in 3D, even when most would think 2D is enough. An extra dimension. When Jasper dives into his bag of knowledge, he is looking for something extra. Jasper always said, if you're going to do it, you'd better do it well. If you're going to make something, make it last. If you're going to help someone, help them change their lives. 3D, not 2D. The best, larger than life. So how is a raven like a writing desk? Jasper asked Sandra for the 15th time. Sandra sighed. I don't know, Jasper. Sometimes there really isn't an answer. Nonsense, said Jasper. You just have to think about it. Later that day, Jasper was covered in flour. An apron protected his front, but his thick black hair had a snowy sprinkling. Sandra didn't like to bother him while he was absorbed, but he cheerfully greeted her and offered her a cupcake, still warm from the oven. As she had come to expect, the cake was perfect. It was such a delight when the college had said yes. Even though it was some distance away, it was as though he had been destined to go to that college. Without any malice, Jasper sometimes reminded her, actually, they were the only ones who would take me in. No one else would. They didn't do squat. But the catering course is going well. One day, Sandra hopes he will get the chance to run his own restaurant. Just give him a chance and it will serve the best food, and especially the best cakes in town. In the meantime, after they had each eaten a cake, they remembered the problem. The problem being the question without an answer. She could see it nagging at him, and he continued to pace up and down, tapping at the laptop keyboard every time he walked past it. Then, peering into his bag of knowledge, Sandra had an idea. I know! Why don't we do some creative baking? Sometimes you have to stop thinking and just do something. Jasper brightened up instantly, his natural enthusiasm flooding back. Okay, yes. Jasper put his hand to his chin thoughtfully. I shall need my art equipment first. Then I'll need several baking tins. Yes. As Jasper continued to think, Sandra laid 2 sheets of white paper on the table. She found his set of paint, 15 pots, all in the correct order, from white and yellow to indigo and black, a pair of sharp scissors and some glue. Then Sandra pulled out some flour, some butter, some eggs, and all the baking equipment she could find, crowding them on top of the kitchen cupboard. When she decided he must have everything he could possibly need, Sandra knew that Jasper would prefer to be alone. She closed the door carefully behind her and turned her attention to the 3 dogs who needed to be walked. 3 hours later, Sandra edged open the door to see how Jasper was getting on. Before she could stop them, the 3 dogs bounded into the room. Sandra stared in horror at the open pots of paint and the carefully constructed little paper models scattered across the table. Jasper turned to face them, straightened up, and firmly held up one hand. "Stop right there," he said. The dogs skidded to a halt. No one else can command them like that. Sandra sometimes thought that Jasper and the dogs understood one another better than anyone else. Somehow, the glue and flour had melded together, and Jasper had turned into what Sandra could only describe as a hedgehog. His hair was in white-tipped spikes, sticking out all around his head. Not only that, but he now had black paint specks on his face and over his apron. His neat bow tie and his carefully ironed trousers were daubed with glue. Jasper smiled broadly and held out his arms with his palms upwards. "You just have to look at it from a different perspective," he explained clearly. "Come over here." Even Maddie, the most mischievous dog, trotted over quietly to where Jasper was indicating. With a flourish, Jasper straightened his bow tie, flicked the tea towel over one shoulder, smoothed down his trousers, and opened the fridge. He drew out 2 cakes. As the fridge door swung close, Sandra saw that one cake was in the shape of a beautifully crafted writing desk, with its lid raised. The other cake looked exactly like a blackbird, ready to take flight. Jasper looked down in satisfaction. The dogs sat quietly, with their heads tilted. "You see, it's the inside that matters, not the outside. They're both the same on the inside." The end.